Hello, welcome to the Plot Malaysia. This is our 18th episode, or should I say, part two, with
Of our
Coach
17th episode.
Akash.
Yeah.
This is the show. Yeah, this is the show for the
By the
fans.
fans.
Yo, so yes, Coach Akash, I must say it was. We must say that it was a really wonderful show on the part one, where you covered a lot of aspects about grassroots football. You share with us a bit about what you were doing and things like that. So now, we're going into the more intense stuff. Okay, we're going to
Yeah,
the more intense stuff about coaching. So hurry, do you want to kick that off?
Yes, absolutely. My favorite topic, man. Tactical work, coaching, for example, and no better person to pick the brains of than Akash. So, yeah, because I think firstly,
Yes.
we spoke about grassroots football. So this is connected to grassroots football in a way, and the work you're doing with your academy as well. Uh,
Mhm.
Something that I've always thought about, what principles, especially when you're coaching at that level, at youth football level, at typical grassroots level, what sort of principles do you focus on with these young boys or these young kids in general? Is it a lot more defensive work? How do you start off the defensive work? Do you look at possession play? What are principles you normally focus on with aspiring footballers?
you, I think it is something that is being focused throughout your life as a player from grassroots all the way up to pro level too is technique. Especially the younger you get, is that relationship with the ball. All you want to do is repetitions with the ball all the time, touching the ball, outside foot, inside foot, with the soul.
Mm.
I mean, I grew up in a house, and in a house filled with balls, whatever sort, tennis ball,
Okay.
squash ball. My dad used
Mm.
to play squash. I used to juggle them all the time. There was never a moment I wasn't with the ball. Even like eating dinner, I had a ball under the table, like just on my foot. I mean, that is the most important thing. Is just that relationship with the ball, that technique, and it will be used for the rest of your life in football. So this is something that we keep. What we do in terms of coaching, what we keep emphasizing, what we focus on is. So what we do in Indonesia, in Jakarta, we have Anfa Futsal Academy. That's the futsal academy. We have another program called Pro Ball Mastery. So Pro
Pro
Ball
ball mastery.
Mastery, it was originally a franchise called Super Skills that started here, and is also now in London, is also in the US. But then we
Mhm.
had to rebrand, and we call ourselves Pro Ball Mastery. The game itself is so unique. It is one versus one. So when a player comes to a session, there is no passing, there is no shooting. You are constantly working one player and one ball. And then
Oh.
we do a progressive belt system, just like martial arts, where you go taekwondo, there's white belt, yellow, moving all the way to black. Same thing in our place. You start off with white belt or white level. You have a certain criteria of skills to fulfill. So every 6 months
Mhm.
you get graded. The game itself is one versus one. It is not futsal 5v5, football 11v11, or a mini-sided 7v7. So the game itself is 1v1, where it's a 3-minute game. The size of the court would be a badminton size court, and you're constantly attacking, defending, constantly just moving with or without the ball, and you get everything you need of the game just from that.
Mhm.
The way and the goals are made of it's cones, so you got to knock the cones. So your
Oh,
accuracy, the weight
Okay.
of
yeah,
pass,
yeah.
and it's just constant repetition with the ball, and that is so
Mhm.
crucial. And players from there, you put them into a team. We had an argument from a parent saying, "Oh, but if we do this all the time, wouldn't the player just be selfish and just be dribbling on his own?" No, by you being able to beat your opponent, your marker, you create options for everybody else.
Yeah, create
How many
space.
times do you see in grassroots
Yeah.
football? You get the ball, the opponent comes and you panic. You release the ball and you think the
Yeah.
job
Yeah.
is done. This gives you the edge. This gives you that weapon that you need to get past your opponents, because you are technically very strong and you are confident with the ball. So this is
Yeah.
something that we do, and this is what we focus on, especially the younger you get, it's all repetitions with the ball.
Awesome,
Wow.
man. Awesome. They're
That's
really good insights, that one. Yeah, yeah. And I agree with that, man, because I think the
yep.
moment you beat a player, I mean, a lot of people talk about a passing game, but I think you also need to have the ability to be able to beat someone, because then it creates space, right? It creates space for the others as well, and it opens the game up for you. Yeah. Really interesting, man. I'm going to Google that after this as well. Pro mastery.
Pro
Really
ball.
And I think
Pro ball
mastery.
Pro ball mastery.
I saw some of the videos, Akash, when it comes to Instagram and stories you used to post. I used to see some of those videos, and I really used to like it as well. It's really fun watching them. It's really, really interesting. I'm going to keep watching that, obviously. And guys out there, if you want to check it out, please go to Pro Ball Mastery. You get to check out all these cool videos, and of course, you'll be able to have some insights as well. And coming to that, Akash, because when I look at those videos that you guys are doing, right, for your kids and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure you do have some ideas and philosophy, okay? Ideas and philosophy of football, and the way you like your teams to play. So, what are your ideas and philosophy like, for your teams, and how you want them to play?
I see. Philosophy is one thing. The kind of players that you have is another.
Yeah.
So I think it is not about philosophy. It's just it's about getting the right mix and playing to your strengths. I think that is where the key is.
Absolutely, spot on.
Yeah, it's not. Oh, I look up to, let's say, Pep Guardiola. I look up to Jose Mourinho, and they play a certain way, and I want to be like them. And it's not like that. It's what works. There is no right. There is no wrong. It's just what works with the right mix, with the right balance, with what you have, what resources you have, whatever limited resources you have, and making the best out of it. So all sorts of tactical stuff, it all depends what's on the plate.
I agree with that, man. Yeah, absolutely spot on. In an ideal world, if you had the sort of, let's say you had an abundance of talent, what would be your style of play, or what would be your dream style of play for your teams to play?
Yeah.
In terms of attacking, defending, in terms of without the ball, in what sense?
I think in general sense. I think let's put it this way: who do you look up to?
In terms of, if I had an ideal team, I'll play total football. I enjoy watching a lot of Man City these days. I think they are running away with the league.
Yep.
It's just total football. And like I said in the previous questions that you passed as well, about like right back, left back, full backs. I mean, everybody is involved, and just to see the players last 90 minutes today, it's not a joke.
Yep.
It's a big gap from 10 years ago, just a decade ago, and today's football is a big gap in terms of players' fitness levels, in terms of players' IQ, in terms of players' ability to hold the ball for a certain amount of time. I mean, the game is so fast paced. It's just boom, 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 boom. You lose the ball, you're defending, you're going back to attack. There's so much transition in the game, and you have to be not just physically fit, you have to be mentally fit. Fit. You have to be spot on. Like I said, the game is not for the most talented players. It's whether you can live that lifestyle and be ready for every day. It is not a joke.
No, I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree with that, man. I'm saying I agree with that, man. And total football, spot on. The as you said, Man City. You talk about fullbacks, for example. Their fullbacks don't really play fullbacks, do they? It's interesting, isn't it? They play in the field. They play in the middle of the park most of the time.
Exactly. And you have players like Diaz and even Stones getting on the score sheet. Like, defenders play such an important role, even going up during set pieces. Ability to finish, not just with the head anymore. A second ball comes in, bang. I think Stones did that a couple of weeks ago, was it?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, these are no more strikers' duty. It's even their duty now. There's a second chance, and it can change. I mean, the league itself is so dynamic. You have to be ready every week, and just you have to win matches. That's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. Results, isn't it?
Yeah. And it can come from anywhere. Suddenly you win 2-0 and both your center backs get the goals. And like I said, every player has to be ready. You're all playing all over the field.
I mean, connected to that, right? When you speak about, for example, total football and playing to your strengths of the players you have at your disposal, right? how hard is it? And this is a question that I've always thought about. Right? How hard is it to get your teams to play the Guardiola way, the total football way, or the Klopp way? You know, the high pressing intensity. And both of them play a very high line as well. How hard is it to get the whole team to work in sync? Because that's very rhythmic. If you watch the teams play, both these teams, it's very rhythmic. It's like they've worked really hard on it. And how hard is that to impart on a team? To get your perspective on, yeah.
I think firstly, if you have the right amount, I mean the right talent pool, the right players in the team, it's just about creating a habit in terms of training sessions, your repetitions, with the way you want to move with the ball, going through it over and over and over again, and then when you lose the ball, how is the shape? It's all about the shape of the formation when you attack, defend, attack, defend. But like I said, it is easier said than done, because coming into a job, for example, whatever players you have on the plate right now, you have to get the job done, and you can't just suddenly overnight switch it like that. All these take time. It's all about the amount of quality of your training sessions as well. So it's all about repetitions.
Do you think
repetitions definitely?
Do you think these sessions that, I mean, these, I'm going to use Klopp, Guardiola, but it generally could be Mourinho, it could be any style, for example. Do you think they'll probably have to break up the coaching drills into smaller groups? Is that how they normally get the smaller groups to work in sync first, and then they?
Yeah. It all depends again. I would say it all depends in terms of what is the objective for the day.
Yep.
Let's say my objective today is in terms of defending shape.
Yep.
So I would get into smaller groups before I get to let's say an 8v8.
Yep.
That would be my game situation, my 8v8. But how the progress from a small-sided game into correcting mistakes, into identifying the players that I want, the way I want them to move. Let's say for my upcoming game on the weekend, I already know who my first 11 is. I want to focus on them, on their shape. So I start with a smaller group, and then I move on to game situation. So it all depends on what the objective is for the day. I want to do, let's say I have my attacking players, let's say my wingers didn't do enough crossing, and then we had very poor finishing on top of that with the headers or whatever, finishing from the crosses. For this particular attacking session, I want to do a lot of passing build up from the wing, and then crossing, and then finishing. How do you progress to game situation? In terms of your difficulty and intensity level. Let's say right now we get it without defenders. Let's get the attacking team moving, and then we put in the defenders for a game-like situation.
Interesting.
Okay.
So
really,
but this is just a ballpark session. I would say.
Yeah.
But if you already have something that you know what the focus is on, you don't have to necessarily start from scratch and we start with this small, building up into game situation. So it all depends. What day is it? What is the training load? What is the volume? All these because you wouldn't be training twice a day in the middle of the season. So and then you're traveling, playing games every 3 days. So you're just touch and go. You're focusing on things that you need to work on.
Exactly.
Especially at the highest level.
Interesting. So finding the gaps and what's been missing, and then working on that because of the limited time you have, basically. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense, man. Very good insights.
Yeah, and of course, having said that, it comes to a lot of experience as well, as a coach, finding those areas that you want to work on, and of course, drilling that consistently as well as much as possible. But Akash, I do have a very interesting question I want to ask you, and I think the viewers would want to know that as well. I think because this is one of the highlights, I think, about you as a coach. So I do want to ask you, tell us about your experience, while you were managing the Indonesian Deaf and Mute national team. I think it's something very special. We all want to know.
It was something really unique, really special that I hold it close to my heart as well. What a great experience we had. It was just out of the blues. I got a call, like, would you be interested in this? I went in, not knowing what to expect. I went for my first training session. The first training session was to select the players. They had called me and said, look, uh, competition is a month away. We don't have a team right now. We
Oh, wow.
need somebody to help coach. We need somebody
Oh.
to select the players and all. I was like, oh, okay. And it was 4 weeks, or was it 5 weeks into prior to the tournament. And the first, so we had, I think, 4 training sessions before we flew out. And the first 2 training sessions itself was just to get 15 or 16 of the players to the team. And what was really difficult was because of how things were being taken care of. Like I said, it's so difficult in a developing country with communication and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
We only had players in Jakarta, so already it is already the talent. I mean the players pool is so small, and then only in Jakarta it's so much smaller, and you only have that kind of players to look at, and you have to select them because, I mean, you don't really have a choice. You have to select like, for example, our first 11, I would say maybe 5-6 players at the most, that too can even control a ball, trap a ball, play a pass. There was a 2 or 3 of them which was pretty good, but they were the one holding the team together. But in a game of football, you can't rely on 3 players.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
fast forward years later, they had called me again. They said there's another tournament going to happen, which didn't happen. In I think it was going to be in Bangkok. And this time they had invited players from out of Jakarta, and that's when I saw that there are so many good players. And this should have been what we flew to KL with, and we probably could have done more damage. Anyway, so we did the first 2 sessions as selection. We had 15, 16 players, and we went there. I even had like a little press conference, or you would say a little a story about what the expectations of the team and all that. And I just to a news wire, and I told them there's no expectations. I mean, we are really severely underprepared. And the next 2 sessions, like the training sessions that I was taking care of, we were just doing attacking, and the next one was defensive shape. And it was so what I learned was, it's so difficult because you're not I mean, you have to do a lot of sign language and all.
The
At that
communication.
time, I had one of the guys who could help me out with sign language from I mean, they had somebody to help me out from there. And but most of the time, I mean, the guy translating is not a footballer or anything who understands football. Is just basic whatever. I just need them. But once you are talking more technical side of the game, every time I had something and I was furious on the field, we were under I remember one of the sessions, it was under the scorching heat at 2 p.m. And every time I had to speak to them, I had to call everybody to the center of the field and draw it out on the tactical board and the whiteboard that I had about movements. Again, there was something that was wrong. I can't just be shouting because it's impossible. They have to come and I have to draw it out again. But I grew so much as a person within that space of 1 month. We became like a family until today. Till today, we all still keep in touch. And so back to the tournament, when we flew there with zero expectations, our first game, I think, was against Laos. I think it was Laos or Cambodia, one of them. I don't remember. And I think it was Laos, and it was such a high scoring game. We beat them 6-4. But it was great because we came out in news wires, in football portals and stuff. So the team was getting a bit of attraction, and then we played Cambodia after that. Or was it? I don't remember. I think it was Cambodia, and we beat Cambodia as well. And we were in the group with Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, who were favorites to win the tournament. So with our first 2 games already won, we were secured that spot, and I was so relieved. Every game was a panic mode because really, like, it was some of the players, I mean, have never played at that level before too, or any competition higher than just amongst like schools or universities that they have played, which they don't have an official tournament for them. So it
Yeah.
was to play against, like, I mean, like games that require you to perform at that level was something that I cannot blame them to, and we all just have to do our best. And just
Mhm.
after that, 2 games was such a big relief. I mean, we were conceding really uh, avoidable goals, but thankfully we were scoring as well. And another thing that I learned in that period was that maybe the structure of the body of the players were a bit
Mhm.
different. They
Mhm.
were prone to injuries. Not just our team.
Okay.
I saw it all across the tournament. Like every little bit, like the shortening of the muscles. Their hamstring would get pulled. Their thigh
Mhm.
muscles would get pulled just after a sprint. So it was something that I don't know. Maybe the way the body is, uh, in terms of how special they are too, because of their nature, and maybe it affected their muscles. I don't know, but it was something that I saw across the whole tournament, and it was something all really fresh and new. It was a great experience, and we went to the semis and we finished third place in the ASEAN tournament.
Yeah, awesome, man. That
Oh,
And
that's
that's
such a
awesome.
that's a really interesting experience, man. I can
yeah,
imagine communication must have been so difficult. Just thinking about it, trying to
it
get a
was.
message
Yep.
across during a match, for
Yeah,
example, telling someone to move somewhere. Halftime
no,
team talks, for
absolutely.
example, you've got 15
Yep.
minutes. It might take you a lot
Yeah,
longer, for example, in this
yeah,
situation. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
can imagine that being such a challenge, especially with the limited amount of preparation time you had as well.
And I
and
have to say
even
that, sorry, Sir Akash, I just have to say it's
yeah,
very motivational and very, very
Yeah,
inspirational that you've done that.
yeah.
And I don't know anyone who has ever done that. You're the
yeah,
first one. So it's a real pleasure knowing this,
yeah.
from
Kudos to
you
you,
as
man.
well
Thank
on the
you,
show.
thank
Kudos to
you.
you, man. Yep.
I
Yep.
I want to highlight one of the nights in the so we were staying in the youth national center. I think it's in Cheras in
Yeah,
KL.
Oh, Charas. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and all the players were staying there. So like a dorm room was
Mhm.
for, I think, all the players. I think all 16, 17 of them slept in the big like dorm, and for the Indonesia team. And I remember one of the nights I was there just to speak about the defensive side of things. We didn't have a ball, so I
Mhm.
used a pillow and I made them throw around the room just so
Oh,
that if
wow.
the attacker were to have the ball on this side, how would they shift with the back four? How would they shift with the midfield to help the defense and throw the pillow across the room again? And how they would just so that they would be always involved and thinking about the game. And I would also just to get the focus in, because we were so, I would say, not 100% prepared that way. So I had to get other stuff, other variables. I had to make sure other variables were taken care of. I even took their phones away for the every night. I gave them a curfew with the phones. I think it was after dinner, like 7 p.m., 7:30 or 8. 7:30, I think it was, and everybody just like the team manager would come and collect with a big plastic bag all the phones, and they would be given only
Mhm.
the next morning. So
I
just
see.
so that they could just sleep on time and not be on their phones, and just wake up the next
Yeah.
day, come to breakfast, and then our match would be in the morning,
Mhm.
late morning. So at least they would all be just focused. So big, all these other variables that we have the power to control, I had to do it, and thankfully as a team everybody agreed, and things went on pretty well then.
That's really interesting, man.
Great.
I think it was also important to build unity and camaraderie in the team, right? I mean, if
Yep.
not,
Right.
if you're on your phones, I think it's society in general now. You're on your
Yeah.
phones, you don't have time for each other. You don't. I mean, I see a couple sitting on a table, don't talk to each other these days. They're on their phones,
Yeah.
and I think even in the
On
team
the
environment as
phones.
well. And I've heard this from
Yeah.
like watching like football shows with professionals now as well,
Yeah.
and them comparing their dressing room now, comparing it to
Mhm.
what it was in the 90s and early 2000s when they used to be really close, used to sing together in the dressing rooms, a lot of banter.
Yeah.
And he says now you go into a dressing room at the end of a match or at the start of a game, and everyone's on their own phone in their own space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
an interesting shift in things, like.
Yep.
Cool,
Yep.
cool,
Yep.
cool, cool, cool. Listen, I mean, Akash, it's been an absolute pleasure, man, having you,
Yep.
talking to
Absolutely.
you about grassroots football and coaching in general. I mean, a lot of these things have always been of interest to me, like tactical work and coaching. So great to pick your mind on that. One quick question, man, before you end the show. You know we've got a rivalry, right? Malaysia, Indonesia as well. So I've got to ask, man, who eventually won that the tournament?
Thailand.
Oh, was it
Thailand won the
Malaysia?
tournament. Thailand and Malaysia were in the finals.
Okay, cool. Right, we came second last
wow.
And what I was told is Thailand, they even have their own league for the deaf.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Wow.
that is so. I mean, that's so respectable. Like, I mean, you take really good care of your athletes, and for you to pick your best 16, 17 players to come for a tournament would be so much easier. And I mean, they came super well prepared. Like, you could tell that this is another level.
Quick question, yeah. Before I know before we wrap things up and on part 2 as well, Akash. But in terms of, I don't know what I'm guessing you would have some knowledge of the other countries in Southeast Asia, or at least in the basic level in terms of what kind of infrastructure they play with in comparison to Indonesia. Who do you think within Southeast Asia, which country is best prepared going over the next 5 or 10 years, for example? Who do you think being a bit of a powerhouse in Southeast Asia over the next 5 or 10 years, based on talent pool and infrastructure?
Thailand, for sure, Thailand. Just like I said, I mean, for the deaf, you even have your own league. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's really amazing.
They handle their athletes, the way the athletes are respected by the public. I mean, it's another level, and everybody wants to be an athlete in Thailand. It's so respectful. You look at the J League, for example. How many ASEAN players do you see?
Yeah.
And you'd find them there from.
Yep.
And J League is a step up, obviously, from ASEAN and everybody. I mean, as an Asian, Southeast Asian, that would be the Europe, I would say. But yeah, I mean, in terms of AFF, you look at Suzuki Cup, you look at stuff like that. You look at Asian Champions League. You'd find many Thai clubs. You'd find the national team winning more
Competitions
football than any other.
Yep.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Definitely.
Cool, Ram. So we Malaysians have a way to go yet. Then we can. We gotta. I think the first thing we got to do when we take away phones from our athletes or our youth footballers, we got to take the nasi lemak away from them. That's the first step, Keep them away from the nasi lemak.
Nasi lemak, mee goreng, teh tarik, all, take it away.
Take it away. Maybe get our restaurants here to not operate 24 hours. I know that's the first step.
Yeah. Currently, I think we are moving in the right direction because of the COVID. So no 24 hours restaurant, but it's fine, I guess. That's good. But Akash, I got to say this, just before we end today's episode, and of course, part 2, just, share with the viewers, about your academy. Just a quick one, give us something for us to look forward to in your academy as well.
Yep.
So what we are running here is a futsal academy called ANFA, ANFA, ANFA Futsal Academy. That is an academy that ranges from age 3. We have a toddlers group all the way up to 16. So our under 16, we play in the Indonesian League or the Indonesian League for the academies. And also pre-COVID, right before COVID, we had started something that I've been wanting to do for a while. We started a special needs class for kids who are autistic and things and players who need to learn how to focus. That is a new wing that we opened up, and things were running great until COVID happened. And so that is something a little bit on ANFA Futsal Academy. You can see a lot of our videos on Instagram. ANFA Futsal Academy. The other one that we have is the Pro Ball Mastery. That is the 1-versus-1, and that is the one about the individual technical skill through dribbling. And what we started in 2019, that is something fresh, was Pro Ball Football. So we started a football as well, and so that's what we're doing, and this is all grassroots.
Fantastic.
Awesome,
Viewers out there,
Yep.
leave your comments down below. Coach Akash has shared so much of information with us, and if of course you have any questions for Coach Akash, please do leave your comments down below, and I'm sure he will be able to answer them as well in the near future. But of course, Akash, it's been a pleasure once again having you here, and
Thank you.
we look forward to having you here once again. Hopefully,
Thank you for
give
having me,
you
guys. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, man.
no worries. Always, always, always a pleasure. And of course, we look forward to having you once again in the future, in the near
Yeah.
future. So, thank you so much once again. Signing off from the plot, Malaysia. This is the show for the fans.
It's by the fans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers, man. Cheers, Akash.
Cheers,
See you,
Akash.
see you guys. Thank